And according to this guide, that moment right there establishes the whole one-flesh relationship idea, non-negotiable.
Yeah, and what's interesting right away is how the source dives into the language to define these roles. They really highlight the Hebrew word for wife, isha. They point out it's just the feminine version of ish, which means husband. So the idea is while the roles are different, they share the same origin and essential nature.
Right, that structural definition. But then they add this expressive layer, which is quite striking.
Exactly. The source gives this expressive definition of woman. It says a man with a womb. But it means more than just the physical. Spiritually, intellectually, it suggests sharing the same human qualities, intellect, spirit, but, and this is key, combined with a unique divine ability to conceive, nurture, and bring life creatively, physically, or emotionally. So it's not just about having babies. It positions the wife as the main creative life giver and nurturer in the marriage, different from the husband's role as leader.
Okay, so that foundation is then used to justify all the really specific roles we see later, citing scriptures like Titus 2, 1 Timothy 5, and obviously the big one, Proverbs 31, as the standard for how a wife should act. All right, so we got the foundation. Equal, in essence, maybe, but distinct roles. Let's jump into the main duties. I noticed chapter 1 is titled God First. In this whole kingdom-oriented idea, why is the wife's spiritual duty put so front and center? Even, it seems, above her relationship with her husband sometimes.
Well, it's presented as the absolute top priority. The thinking is the husband provides for the physical stuff, the daily needs, the structure, that sort of thing. But the wife, she's explicitly tasked with nurturing the spiritual atmosphere of the home. It's seen as like her direct contribution to the family's eternal well-being. The guide emphasizes doing this by modeling Christ through a real, lived-out relationship, not just, going through the motions of religion. And this focus leads to a really interesting concept in the book, quiet influence. The argument is that her consistent, godly character can inspire the whole family without needing to constantly lecture or correct them verbally. It sort of sets the spiritual temperature, you could say. They actually cite 1 Corinthians 7 for this, stressing that the unbelieving husband is sanctified through his wife. So her personal faith is seen as creating this kind of spiritual protection for the family.
Wow, that sounds like it requires a lot of emotional and spiritual grounding, almost like sealing oneself off. Which brings us neatly to chapter 2 and what feels like a bit of a contradiction. Be individual. It says, a good wife maintains her own virtue, her discretion, her character in Christ. Okay, but then the way this individuality is expressed seems immediately tied to intense restraint in protecting the marriage.
Yeah, it's a really interesting tension, isn't it? She's told to be independent-minded, sure, but then right away she's instructed to guard the privacy of her home with wisdom. So that individuality isn't really about expressing herself outwardly to the world. It's